This will be an instructional video for the seekers, but there's something that I've been saying as I'm analyzing this template data that I want to update a little bit. I've been indicating that I find the monomyth template very prevalently now. I'm able to understand how it works and extract it, but that the beginnings of Judaism, Hinduism, other religions as well, have a creation in the beginning. And so that there's a creation myth that was not identified as the monomyth, but it precedes the beginning of branches of monomyth after monomyth after monomyth. The creation is first. And what I've been saying is that when you read the Bible, after creation is done, picks up the first monomyth. As soon as Noah is chosen, that right there is the choosing. That is the person who is going to, we become Noah when we're going back to flood our world. And from a monomyth perspective, that's how it works. We become whoever is the person that is going on the adventure, whoever the leader is, whoever. The monomyth is written in such a way that whoever the hero of the story is you if you are going on that adventure. That is how it is contained, and that is how we find it. However, there's more than creation that's happening up front. And if we think about it, here, let me pop this up and take a look at what is actually structured right in the beginning of the Bible here. And bear with me on all of the details. I'm going to cover this whole thing here by the end of the video, but let's just take a look at the red sections first. The first creation story, second creation story. I've been doing videos on that. That's what I'm actually focused on right now, is that the first and second creation story. Because once those are established, there is a 7-day period right there that we return to. That point right there, first creation, second creation, at the end of those two is when we are naked and in the garden. That is when we are self-aware, in charge of our life, but we are not hurt. We've let go of things. We are not covering ourselves with anything. We don't have any pain, shame, hurt. We've let that stuff go. We are naked and in the garden. That's an important point to know right there, because we're going to get referenced back to this point in the teaching, returning to that point where that's our goal right there, to get to that point. Then when we get down to the final one down there, Noah pleases God. That is in chapter 6, verse 9. That's when the choosing happens. That is when the first monomyth picks up. So you see steps 3, 4, 5, 6 right there are also a part of creation, but they're a later part of it. It's actually more like the first two are creation. Then 3, 4, 5, and 6 are destruction. First sin is when we begin experiencing life. Cain murders Abel. That's when we could be split right there. We could go good or bad. What happens? We go the wrong way to begin with. Civilization begins. That is going to be analogous to us living life, and one thing leads to another, and it gets worse and worse. And Adam's descendants to Noah, that is the same thing. We are creating offspring within us that are going to go back and do the work to get rid of all of the things that we've picked up along the way. And the wickedness of humankind, that's when we've got to the point in life where we've had it. And Noah pleases God right there. And then, of course, the great flood comes. That is actually part of the hero's journey. That's crossing a threshold right there. Okay, so there's more to it than just a creation story. There's almost like a creation and then a life, and then you choose to go. And it can all be called creation, I think. The important thing to consider here is that we have to maintain that point where we were naked in the garden, and 7 right there. That has to be a point that is very well defined within this structure. There's instructions in here and things as well that we're going to grab as we go. But right here, I just wanted to make that clear, because I've been calling that creation up to the first monomyth, when in all reality you look at it and go, there's a creation up to one point where it's pure, and then creation continues where it goes bad. So it is still an entire creation story, but it's 2 parts. It's more like a creation and an advance and a decay. Yay, we're here. Oh crap, it went bad. Let's go fix that. That's what, in its simplest form, that's what it is. Okay, let me I want to talk a little bit again about the structuring of the material. Did you happen to notice when I had this up here, I was putting the first creation stories at chapter 1, verse 1. Second creation story is at chapter 2, verse about 4.5. Then you look at first sin and its punishment, 3:1. Cain murders Abel, 4:1. Within that, civilization begins, Adam's descendants to Noah 5:1. It's kind of structured, except for that one that's 4.5. Anyway, let me take a look at something else here. This comes from a Bible study site, and I just pulled this up because I've made a video of this before, but it's important to bring it up again. For studying and for going through the template, it's important to understand what we're working with here. When the books of the Bible were originally written, they did not contain chapter or verse references. The Bible was divided into chapters and verses to help us find scriptures more quickly and easily. It is much easier to find John chapter 3, verse 16 than it is to find "For God so loved the world." In a few places, chapter breaks are poorly placed and as a result divide content that should flow together. Overall, though, the chapter and verse divisions are very helpful. Okay, they are very helpful if you are a Christian making references and you're studying the shell. If you're looking for the template, they need to go. They make it so it's hard to see what's going on. The chapter divisions commonly used today, the chapter divisions are okay sometimes. Okay, we don't need to go through here too much more. They were developed by Stephen Langton, an Archbishop of Canterbury. Langton put the modern chapter divisions into place at around AD 1227. The Wycliffe English Bible of 1380, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we don't care about all that. That's the history of it. We're just going to do this. Take a look at, I'm going to pull up the Bible right here, of this page right here from, this is from the NRSV, but you can see right here where chapter 2 starts. The chapter 1 ends, and there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. So the first creation story wasn't even completed yet. The seventh day was still to come, and they made a chapter break there. If we continue on, though, there's another account of the creation. In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth. We see that is like right in the middle of the verse 4. And you look at that and go, what are you doing? This is not a place to put a chapter or a verse break. This is a place to put another account of the creation. And you see what that note is right there. Here is what I'm going to... The Holy Bible, the King James Version. Everybody probably has one of those. I like mine for a couple of reasons. Number one is to check some of what they do, but also what I like is that, I don't know if you can see the colors, it's a red letter edition, so if I'm studying Jesus, I can find his stuff real quick. But for accuracy, I use the NRSV. And you know what? It's going to be structured the same way as those, like this. However, this is what I do when I'm ready to study. I just start copying it down. And let me pop this up. There we go. The first creation story. And you could see what I've done here is break it down into events. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Boom, that's right there, number 1. That's the first one. Then you go to the second one. They break down in sequences of something that is happening. And then as we look down here where I break between the first and the second creation stories, I just make the break where it stops right there. It flows better. It doesn't have that day 7 in the beginning of the chapter or something. You see, it's just easier to spot the structure that way. All that other stuff kind of obfuscates that. If you separate them out like this, we can also begin to start comparing things and finding patterns. The patterns are going to show us the template. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So the big thing is that there's 2 parts to creation, and that 7 right there is there. And separate things out like this. Whoever wrote these stories, they wrote them the way we're trying to read them, not the way somebody else is trying to understand them as a religious document. The religion is carrying the template. They are making it easier for them to study the religion, and we need to make sure we extract ourselves from what they're doing so that we can go back to finding the template. Humans are incredibly good at seeking patterns. We exist in patterns. The busier we are and the more we hide the patterns, the more difficult they are to see. So let's get rid of all of the surface fluff. We'll find the patterns. All right. Hope this was helpful. If you're a seeker, it will be. This is important to know. And it helps me to remember it, to talk about it too. So, all right. Love one another. See you in the next video.